Good morning, good morning. We'd like to welcome you to the BlackUSA.News morning show. My name's Donnie Glover. We're in here with Mr. Quay Parker, Equity One Lending. First of all, Mr. Parker, thank you for your support of the Black Wall Street Awards the other night. It was a spectacular event over at Terra Cafe, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure. You do great things.
So recently you put out a memo and you were educating us, the general public, about credit, about FICA, about credit karma, about things we think we know, things that we thought we knew that are all lies. Lies, it's all lies. Help us out.
I wouldn't say that lies as much as I would. It's a misconception. With the credit scores, there's a big focus on credit scores and consumers monitoring their credit, which is something I'm definitely fond of because it raises an awareness, especially in our community, on just being conscious of your financial position. However, we can't take that out of context. The free services typically are not the actual scores that we use as lenders. And the scores we use are done by a FICO model. What a lot of the services like Credit Karma and Advantage scores use are replica scoring models that try to replicate the scores that lenders use as a way to give consumers an indication of where they stand. But they're not the exact scores. They're tools for sure, useful tools, helpful tools. I love them. But what is not to be confused with these being the actual scores that you will see or that you're going to be looking at when you go to apply for loans.
Because Credit Karma will paint a picture like their numbers are your numbers. And what I'm hearing you say is that's not necessarily so.
You know, they paint a picture for awareness. What Credit Karma really is a marketing platform. They make you aware of your financial standing to make credit offers. Their revenue stream is directly based upon referring you to credit sources, whether it's credit cards, loans, mortgages, autos, and things like that. So in getting you conscious of your credit, they can also vet you also for opportunities and then sell those leads to these companies. So it's really a marketing platform. It's not really a consumer tool. It's a marketing platform.
So once you sign for Credit Karma, you can almost bet that some other person, some other entity that they've sold your information to will contact you.
You know, it's funny. I don't know their policies on credit sharing. What they do is they have a referral system. So they look at your scores, and then the lenders and people who subscribe to their platform give the parameters for what they're looking for as far as a consumer credit-wise. So when you fit that profile, they give recommendations, and then the consumer actually applies, and that's how the creditors get the information. It's not like a situation where they're sharing your data. From what I understand, it doesn't work that way. It works from a standpoint of once you see an offer, you can then accept the offer and move forward accordingly.
I wanted to ask you, the city of Baltimore is changing. I now see in Sandtown people who I've never seen in Sandtown before. This is a 98% Black community.
Walking the dogs.
Any thoughts on gentrification in Baltimore? Is Baltimore, for instance, the last East Coast city to be gentrified?
Oh man, this is a tough one. You know, when you look at diversity in a community, it's different from exploitation of the occupants of a community. I'm in favor of communities being diversified. I'm not fond of communities being gentrified because of systemic issues that exist. And I could talk about one since you hit on this. I might as well talk about it. I think one of the problems we run into in the communities, in urban communities, especially the Black communities, would be the ability to get capital in small quantities. Where, for example, an issue we see a lot would be in the communities you're describing. Let's say there's a house for sale for $40,000, but it needs repair. A lot of mortgage companies can really not do loans under $100,000 or so, because of the laws in Dodd-Frank make it almost impossible for us to service people without taking huge financial losses. So that limits the financing resources for people in these communities to buy these properties either cash or through banks that may have higher credit standings. So the issue we're running into is a house can sit in the community and the renters can't buy it with a loan because they can't get a small loan, what we consider a micro mortgage, to get the house. But then an investor who has cash can come in and buy the house for $40,000, put $20,000 into it, and then sell it to the same person for $100,000 and capitalize on that gain versus letting that equity stay in the community. This is a bigger problem than people think. I love the investors out there, our service alive investors, but I also feel that it really isolates the people in the community who have been there, invested in the community, that they need access to small loans in order to be able to keep the properties in their own community and update the communities themselves.
You mentioned some type of legislation. Did you say Dodd-Frank?
Dodd-Frank. Yeah, and basically how it's set up is after the whole issue with the real estate crisis and the whole concept of predatory loans, the Dodd-Frank bill included a component that said that lenders have to be compensated only on the set amount, which is a margin based upon the loan amount. So let's say if we're an institution and our average client is $300,000 and we set our margin at say 1.5, we can do a loan and make $4,500. But then if we have a loan for $30,000, there's no way we can do a loan at 1.5%, which would be $450. We couldn't complete that loan, service it, and for $450, where the intent was good to stop people who were preying on innocent consumers, but they didn't think about the bottom end and how it would affect people with smaller loans. These people can't get serviced. So the communities are turned over, not necessarily because the community doesn't care, if they don't have access to capital. It's a lot of laws that are restrictive in our community. The other thing is we have a lot of non-traditional income in our communities. We have a lot of people who pay bills, but they don't have tax returns to reflect everything in their household. We have a lot of situations where one person in a family might be credit impaired, but the other person has the income. So they don't necessarily meet a loan profile, but we need the ability to make common sense lending decisions in the communities. And I think they just threw the baby out with the bathwater, as my grandmother would say, in trying to overregulate. They set a lot of fences up that are really hurting us.
So it benefits the rich, it hurts the poor.
The laws are designed to serve what they consider most.
My mama said that those with the gold make the rules.
That's the golden rule. I tell people constantly. And I think those with the pen and the vote and the influence also make them. I don't know if this was intentional. I actually brought this to the attention of the late Congressman Elijah Cummings, and I think a lot of people are aware of the issue. It's just in regulation, they only can deal with information from their perspective. So I think when the policies are written, there's a tendency to go only to the CEOs of banks, not necessarily to talk to the private lenders and to talk to the community lending organizations, because you have to have a finger on the pulse at the ground level, not just at the sky. So a lot of the laws have to be addressed. That's something that's high on our priorities. Just putting that on the radar of people in politics and people in Washington, that we have to make some adjustments to allow for microfunding to prevent our communities, or not microfunding, but micro mortgages, in order to keep our communities from turning over. Because this is equity that's leaving out of our communities. We're just giving it away because we don't have the capital to retain these properties.
So where then do we go?
I think there needs to be an awareness. I think that there are a lot of small banks. I talked to a buddy of mine the other day, And there are a lot of small banks that don't have the same limitations that mortgage lenders have, but banks also don't have the flexibility. And there's a common misconception that banks are going to be less expensive money, which is totally not the truth. I would say that in many cases, mortgage lenders and brokers, we're lenders, but lenders and brokers are the majority of the marketplace and tend to be the more competitive. It's just with banks, they have CRA, community reinvestment money that they have to put back in the community. So they don't have the same limits or the same laws that block them, but they don't have the flexibility. So we have to go back to looking at things and pushing for products that we need.
What
But these are
bank?
things most consumers are aware of, so they don't know to advocate for it because most people are not aware of these things and these issues and why they can't own property in their communities. I don't think they really understand it.
What banks do you recommend the Black community work with?
I recommend Equity One Lending. We are a Black lending institution, but also for microfunding. I have a buddy of mine, Jerry Edwards, over at Fulton Mortgage. A couple of banks. Unfortunately, I wish that there were Black banks that I could list. Um, it's just unfortunately, I haven't seen that we're as aggressive in that area. I think a lot of smaller banks are worried about liquidity issues and risk management and not able to really think of putting people in place who understand the landscape and the needs of the community at that level.
Is there any law that requires all banks to have a percentage of microloans, or should there be such legislation?
What's interesting is that banks have to, I don't know if it's the percentage of loans, because then that could go a different way. Just the loan sizes could be, it could be homes in Sandtown, Winchester, or they could be mobiles in Elkridge. So I think we have to be very specific and say that the laws just have to make it so that they're not, uh, it doesn't come as a penalty for lenders to service communities that need the resources the most.
When I think of Barack Obama, when he first came into office, the very first thing he did, or certainly at the top of that list, was to bail out Wall Street. Who's going to bail out Carlton Avenue, North Avenue? Who's going to bail out Main Street? When do the people, the ones at the bottom who've been getting stepped on? I mean, I remember, the bailout, and these CEOs were getting golden parachutes. The employees weren't getting their retirement funds. I mean, at what point does America look out for right now, we're bringing in thousands of Afghanistanis. With all due respect, dude, we've been in line for 400 years. Ain't nobody been bringing us no care packages.
Not at all. Not at all.
Matter of fact, they promised us stuff that they took. The Freedmen's Bureau, 40 acres and a mule, reparations. I mean, when slavery ended, slave owners got a check. But what about us? What about the Black community?
I think that there hasn't been a demand placed. I don't think there's a demand placed. I think we give a lot of support that's unconditional, and that comes at a big cost to us. I think we have to start holding people accountable for our vote. Period. I think we look at things only from the standpoint historically. I think that our base is far more sophisticated now. Our community is more sophisticated as far as their finances and economic impact than ever before. Our parents, I don't think they had that level of awareness and education, but this generation, especially these millennials, it's going to change. There's a higher demand and higher conscious level.
So on that note, are people buying houses using cryptocurrency?
I don't think we're there yet. There's a couple things that we're working on, and I can share. The first thing would be we can talk candidly. One thing I don't understand is I think there needs to be a loan program allotted to African Americans and descendants of slaves. And I don't want to go really deep into that, but we make provisions for veterans, we make provisions for Native Americans. because they understand there's a disadvantage there inherently. So there needs to be provisions there to make it more accessible. And the biggest obstacle for us is down payment, upfront capital. We make the income, but we don't have the net worth. And we can say all these things about, luxury brands and all these things we support. But the reality is you're starting with less. If you run the race at the same pace, you're still going to be behind. So there need to be provisions. If we're making provisions for other people who have gone through struggles and other groups that have been disadvantaged or who have served in other ways, I don't know any group who has served more in the building of this country than the African American community, and did it with nothing. Soldiers at least got paid.
So is it time that we speak to the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland? I mean, that's what happens here in the state of Maryland, in Annapolis. I mean, a lot of times, you've been involved in campaigns. I've been involved in campaigns, but maybe a part of the ongoing process is us, confronting our legislators and telling them these things. Certainly, they've heard what you said before.
You know what? I don't know if confronting them would be the first approach.
I don't mean like in public. I mean like pulling them to the side, like, dude, we need this stuff to happen. Y'all are not talking about it.
I think there needs to be education. I think the people who understand the problems don't always have the connections and the voice. And the people who have the connections and the voice are often advocating for things that are more financially advantageous for them, not necessarily the communities. So I think a lot of these things, like, for example, the mortgage issue of down payment, I think I'm not new. I think organizations like the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, they've addressed it to some extent. There's a lot of organizations out there who have brought it up that down payment assistance is needed. However, they usually limit it to people at 80% of the median income level. And that's not accurate. That would be like 40-some thousand dollars in Baltimore right now for a single person. In order to buy a house, if you have student loan debt and all of these things, down payment, cash is an obstacle. We have a lot of products out here, and I wish we had a lot more because they're restricted to lower income levels. But families who have children, families who have student loan debt, families who are rebounding from credit mistakes because they weren't educated on how to manage money, they have to have resources out here to help them make home ownership achievable. No differently than we look at veterans get 100% financing, or the Native Americans have loan concessions and ability to buy land with less upfront capital and fewer restrictions, or property tax reductions. There has to be some type of monetary provision to increase home ownership, because home ownership is the number one vehicle for wealth generation in America. And there's no coincidence that the disparity in the wealth gap is tied to our difficulty of acquiring property.
Quay, is it time for us to start looking at other options since America won't be kind to us? Is it time to start buying property in Africa?
The hard part is I'm a half Ghanaian, and as much as we like to say it, everyone else looks at America as a hotel, but the USA for African Americans is home. Where do African Americans go back to? Africans don't view African Americans as Africans, and the culture is very different. So,
you talking about the people whose ancestors sold our ancestors said that I'm not African? Well, their opinion really doesn't matter to me.
Well,
because when I look at what happened with King Leopold in the Congo, when I look at the Belgians, the Germans, the French, the Spanish, how they rape Africans in their own country, that's a mute conversation for me.
Yeah, for sure. But there has to be a place to go back to. There needs to be an alternative. A lot of people are looking at Mexico. They're looking at other countries. But I can say for me, there's no place that I like more, and I feel I have more opportunity than here. And my ancestors didn't work hard for me to flee.
James Forten felt the same way. James Forten was a Revolutionary War hero, a black man in Philadelphia. And while at the time there were immigration movements to move blacks, It's in this book. Thank you for your help on this book. Your daughter's in this book too.
Yeah,
While there were immigration efforts to send blacks back to Liberia, and blacks from England went back to Sierra Leone. James Fortin, he wasn't for it. Now his son was, but James Fortin, like, no, this is my land, this is my people's land. We fought, we bled for it, but we live with a majority society, Quay, that makes it difficult at every turn.
yes. See, when we
If this is home, well, damn, what is, if this is what love is, what is hate?
You know, I think it comes down to economics. When countries open up the borders, they look for people who can make the most contributions. So I think even we look at Africa, they're inviting people back. Yeah, they're inviting celebrities. They're inviting wealthy business owners. They're inviting people who have means to come back and contribute to their culture. And I think where it has to start with us is we have the income. Now we have to start understanding the difference between income and wealth. Big difference. You know, it's a lot of six-figure broke people.
Well, can celebrities invest in Africa and invest in the community too? The other day we had Joel Gamble on, former NFL player straight out of Baltimore, and he was noting the many professional sports players who give back to Baltimore.
You know what they do? You know, I know Carmelo does, you know, a lot of athletes do, you know, but it's, you're talking about resources that far, far, far surpass their ability to make a change in. You're talking about an athlete or two, or even a handful. They can make a difference, but I don't know if it'll make a dent. I think really the awareness, the raise of awareness, is what's really helping and what's really going to propel the issue. I think a lot of people, let's look at, you go back to the real estate issue. A lot of people wouldn't have given up their properties in these areas if they understood estate planning. A lot of the homes would have been lost if the parents were educated to understand estate planning. A lot of people wouldn't have gone into bad situations if they were financially educated to not make certain mistakes with certain types of loan products. If they understood that cars are depreciating items, not assets. The financial awareness is really very young in our community. And what I think is really damaging is the number of households that still don't make it a regular component of talking about how to preserve money. We talk about go to school to make it, but we don't have discussions about how to accumulate wealth and how to make wealth grow. We're good at working. We got that. I don't think anybody can call our community lazy. But I looked at all the people in my neighborhood growing up that worked two jobs. I've very rarely seen them ever stop or ever get to the point where they built wealth because of it. We learn how to work, but how do we learn how to build using our resources?
You mentioned estate planning, and you want to go through that for a minute?
I wish I could, because I don't know enough. I have attorneys that I talk to.
But that's the bottom line. We have to have a conversation with attorneys about when we die, how our house will be passed on. But I wanted to add one caveat in there. Some of us just abandoned grandma's house. We wanted to move to something more suburban, better schools, and it's a house across the street from me. The grandma died, the grandson moved to Texas, and now I'm dealing with squatters, addicts, and everybody else ransacking the house on a regular basis. And then they become a basic threat in the sense of, you know, there's no electricity, but cats got fire going on, candles every night, or they jacking up somebody's electricity in the community. And then again, we have these invaders. To me, the first wave of gentrification, addicts and homeless people, not from the Black community, who are up in here. I had to take 5 non-Black people out of my alley the other day, shooting dope.
Yeah.
Very comfortable.
I think it's a hard call. I think when you talk about retaining property, there's a passion element and a commitment level that you have to weather storms, especially when the community is going through challenges, or if their crime rates are high, if schools are not strong. But also, people have a right to go where they're going to have their children, in a safer environment or schools they want. But if everyone goes, what happens to what's left behind? So that's a age old issue. It really is, Donnie. That's an age old issue. It's kind of like, would you rather they keep the house but they keep the house, they won't sell it, and it becomes a blight issue, or would you rather they sold it to somebody who has a commitment to the community? I would say that we go back to the initial issue, which is, how easy is it for people in your community to get capital to own homes?
It's always challenging. One last question. Anything about the ability of CDCs to make a difference? Like in West Baltimore, I can honestly say that Druid Heights Community Development Corporation has been a huge asset, and for 40 years they've been helping to develop that community, and we're working with them so that we can do similar things here in Sandtown. But any thoughts on the community development corporations?
Woo. How can I say this? This is we work hand in hand with everyone. I think that you have to follow the money. People's loyalties lie with where they get funded and who their sponsors are. So if you ever want to know where the priorities are, look at the sponsorship, look at the funding. Because most organizations, and that's why I found it difficult to associate with a lot, at the core, the sponsorship often doesn't necessarily align with the objectives, or what we would think would be the objectives. So community development can mean many things. And help can look very different. The question is, who's being helped and what does the help look like?
Well, any communities in America, any Black communities that you would recommend us looking at who do get it, who do have some type of land cooperative or land banking? I've heard those terms used around town. How do we overcome this?
I think a few things. I think we have to change the mentality. I think the mentality that we have is that everyone now is focused on the luxury lifestyle. One thing that I sent my daughter this about a month, I sent it out to a couple of people. I should have sent it to you, Donnie, and I'm going to pull this up for you. The Louis Vuitton stock, which is LV, let me pull it up right now. It's LVMH, which is the Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton stock. In March of 2020, the stock was worth $74.46. In August 2021, the stock is worth $146.78 during the pandemic. So I asked people a couple questions. Why do they think that happened? And a few people said online shopping. I laughed. I said, I think it's because of stimulus. Our priority is to look wealthy, not be wealthy. And
I saw a parade of three-wheelers in my neighborhood. Three-wheelers, not the dirt bikes, the three-wheelers. But Quay, we're going to transition over to another guest. How can people get in touch with you? What's the best way to reach you? Quay Parker, Equity One.
We have amazing mortgage products. Amazing. We service people. We have 100% finance. We have all the things that can help home ownership become a reality. And we help people who even have past credit issues, current credit issues. Our general way of thinking is we don't say no. We just tell you when we can make it happen, how to help you make it happen. You reach us at equity1lending, spelled out.com, or call us at 443-961-2560. Again, it's 443-961-2560.
Quay Parker, we appreciate your support. Can't wait to bring it back. And big up to your daughter. You want to put a plug in for your daughter?
Think Black, the app. Black businesses, register your business for free. She created a mobile app designed to promote Black businesses on their platform for free and allow consumers to have in their palm of their hand access and directions to any service you need provided by a Black-owned business. Check it out. Think Black app on Apple and Google Play Store.
Good deal. Love and respect you, Quay Parker. Thank you again for your support.
My man. Thanks, Donnie.
500 grand. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you thought you saw it now? You ain't seen nothing yet. We have the woman, the myth, the legend. Her name is Yolanda Pulley, and she don't pull no punches. She'll pimp slap anything that comes incorrect, including the Baltimore City School CEO. Bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. Good morning. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good. You're looking vibrant this morning.
Oh, thank you. I just threw on my lashes for you.
Well, bless your heart. I want to know what is up with Dr. Santa Lisa, the school CEO, the lady who says she's not a superintendent, she's a school CEO. Is she your favorite person in the world?
No. Actually, I have a great distaste in my liking for her. No. First of all, I think she's too overpaid, and second of all, I think that she's just trying to be nice here. When it comes down to our education system, she's an idiot. I'm sorry, she has to go. It's I can't cut it no way. That's the nicest I can be. We asking for her resignation, being nice, and for her not to even respond or to say anything. You get the school board to sit up there and say, "Oh well, she's doing a terrific job." Where are these people from?
What's the average GPA? 1.7, something like that?
1.07.
1.07. That's the average GPA, and she's doing a great. Why do people make excuses for BS? That's BS.
Because it's still the slave mentality that goes on in our head. We suffer from Stockholm syndrome. We always run back to our abusers, and the abusers is our system, and we just feel like we just need them for some reason when we actually don't.
No, we don't. We can do better than this homeschooling.
Absolutely. And that's the only option that they give on virtual learning. They lied about the virtual learning, about having 2,000 students and have all these parents sitting on the waiting list.
Ho, ho, ho. There is no virtual learning?
No, it's a virtual learning, but they only opened it up for 2,000 students. But a mother sent me a letter stating that it was not. They were so proud. They was patting themselves on the back because they said 2,000 parents did not register for online learning, which that one is a lie, because I can send her over 200 parents that wants online learning and they denied them access to it.
Why?
Because of Hogan. Because Hogan told them did not open up these schools, that they was not going to get this federal funding. So
stand up against them.
Yeah, I am, but I need other people to stand up too. I mean, it can't just be me. I'm just one voice.
How can you tell me to send my child back to school when it's not 100% safe? I don't care. I don't care who you are. You can't put me in a situation where I'm jeopardizing my child's well-being. I don't care who you are. Short of Jesus Christ, Muhammad, and Buddha, I don't care what you say. I ain't sending them. I'm educating my child myself. We ain't going that road.
Actually one of the ones that's in virtual learning, and I refuse to send my son back in school until it's safe. Parents should not have had to make the decision on whether to send their children back into the belly of the beast or send them into
it's not happening. It's not happening. As a matter of fact, I would file a lawsuit against anybody that's trying to force me to put my child in harm's way. And what's wrong with virtual learning? Some kids can do virtual learning.
And see, that's another thing that concerned me. So basically what you're saying, that our children was too dumb to do virtual learning. That's why they had to sit in the classroom and basically subject themselves to getting COVID and bringing it home. I find that very that's a smack in the face. Yeah, it's a smack in the face that you're gonna sit up there and say and make an accusation like that when this was going on way before COVID even hit. So for her to sit up there and make this the statement that it's basically the parents' fault. Let's see. The same system that failed the children is the same system that failed the adults. So if I can't read, I cannot teach my child to read. If I cannot do math, I cannot teach my child to do math. So who failed along the way? Was the pandemic? It was the school system. So Donnie, you might as well join our efforts in calling for her resignation and joining our lawsuit because you was a part of Baltimore City educational system. And they not only failed you, they failed everybody else. And like I said, they failed me too. I was a part of Baltimore educational system. I don't feel like I got a good quality education.
I got a good quality education because it started at home.
Yeah, but like I said, if your parents can't read, right.
My parents could very well read. But what I will say is that in my day and time, Baltimore Polytechnic Institute
We'll see
did do traumatic things to students, particularly black students. That Poly is majority black now. I'm 56, but I remember how Poly, including black teachers, in my estimation, tried to weed out weaker students. I did 2 years of Poly in A course, but I remember going to summer school. And they made it very simple in summer school, but all through the year it was unnecessarily difficult. It's I equals E over R. It ain't rocket science. I never gotten 16s and 32s until I got to Poly. Never in my life.
Well, I never got the chance to go to Poly Southern, and I got put out. So
there was some culture shock too. I came from Lamel to go to Poly, but back in my day, we had a lot more black teachers. And black teachers who cared. In my daddy's generation, they had nothing but black teachers who cared, who worked. And so for me, it's not always about the money, it's about the love. You need educators who love. Now, when you bring in these Teach for America white ladies who really cannot identify with an aggressive young male population and they want to put the child on Ritalin, well, they know damn good for our community either. They're definitely.
Yeah, but you have to understand the dynamics to that. Everything became a business. Our school system, see, when we were in school, our school system was actually under the mayor. In 1996 is when the school system, when Baltimore actually sold our school system out. So when they sold us out because they thought that they was going to get more money, that's where the problem came in at, and that's where the accountability left at. And we have to bring back local control. Everybody else have control over their jurisdiction except for Baltimore City, and they still get the same thing with actually less funding, and they have a way better school system, which is crazy to me because we get the highest paid per student with the worst academics, and then we get the highest paid CEO with the worst track record I have ever seen in my life.
Were you surprised? And I'm going to leave the screen for a second. I need to fill up my coffee. Were you surprised to hear Mayor Scott essentially shrug the responsibility of Baltimore City Public Schools this week? I heard him say that that's a legislative issue. It's for our state elected officials. It was almost like that's not what I'm responsible for. That's really what I think I heard our beloved mayor say. Did you hear that?
Actually, I did. And, what he have to understand is that it sits in his backyard. And once it sits in his backyard, we are responsible for what happened to Baltimore educational system. 2/3 of the budget of comes out of Baltimore City. It's just like the police department. The police department is also one of the ones where local control doesn't sit under the mayor, but it sits in his backyard and he's responsible for it. So, we can push the buck all we want, but at the end of the day, it's still all our responsibility, because if we have failed children that's in our city, that sends our crime rate through the roof. So one's not better than the next.
Well, see, that's my point. You can't be on the news every night talking about the violence, the murders of young people. And that's, to me, where Fox misses the entire boat. They want to look at, 3 people got shot in West Baltimore. Okay, well, dig a little deeper. Is there a school in that particular neighborhood? Or did the Baltimore City public school system close the school? Because we know, especially in Sandtown, where we had 3 elementary schools, they closed 2 of them. When you close a school, you kill a community. And what's so baffling is that you have black people, or at least people with the same color skin as you and I, on the school board, but they seem to be as disconnected as, I don't know, they seem to have the intellectual capacity of a dyslexic snail on a bag of Ritalin laced with fentanyl. It's like they have no clue what they're doing. And Miss Pulley, they're taking the names off of schools like George G. Kelson. He was a black icon here in Sandtown, and they renamed it Sandtown Winchester Academy. This is being led. These efforts are being led by black people. Where do they come from?
No, these efforts are being led by white people. They're being fronted by black people. That's the problem. See,
Well, we need to take those black people out to Leakin Park and baptize them in the name of Jesus. They need a little home, a little home training. That's like you throwing your parents under the bus. You took your ancestors' names down. Well, you let this moron tell you that your ancestors don't matter.
Well, see, that's the problem.
No respect for that.
We don't stand up and we don't fight for anything. We just have this mentality. Oh well, it's not mine. Oh well, it don't affect my children. But in the long run, it do, because they erasing us from history. And once they erase us from history, we already don't know. See, 400 years ago, they had us thinking that we were born in slavery. We were not born in slavery. What happened to 400 years before slavery, when we were kings and queens and we wore these big things on our head? They said remove the crown from their heads and the sandals from their feet. It's not my words. It's all written. It's all up in your constitution and all up in them languages and stuff. It's not Yolanda. But see, that if we don't know who we are, then we can't fight for what we fight for.
I'll tell you something else, Yolanda. There were black people already here in the Americas when the Europeans came with their smallpox and diseases and their thieving, hungry selves.
Exactly. So, basically, it's mighty ironic that, if we steal from the system, then we go to jail. But none of them went to jail for what they did to us. They stole from us. They raped our women. They raped our men. Christopher Columbus. Oh,
he was responsible for genocide.
Exactly. But like I said, we have to know who we are and what to fight for. Like, we're fighting to keep the Harlem Theater open because they want to take it through eminent domain, and all the houses that's connected to it that still have the slave passages under the bottom. And, they won't even give them the historic money to fix it up. They just want the building. And they want her to actually tear the roof off and put an open garden. But yet, it's a big slave statue that sits over there in the in the park that overlooks the Harlem Theater. Like, yeah, nigga, I still got you. See, I have a problem with this type of thing. And that's right there at Augusta Fells, where all this mess started happening at. So when people say, oh, why are you calling for the resignation of Santa Lee? Oh, she's doing a good job. How, Sway? How? When you sit up there and tell me on a sign that you're not going to fix the schools, you're not going to fix the air conditioners until 2028, but it's a sign to say we're fixing elevators. That's a problem for me. She has to go. And Donnie, we all need gatekeepers somewhere. And they have used us for years. There's no difference. See, what they do is that they sit up there and throw us these little fundings called 501c3s, called nonprofit organizations. And then we're not allowed to talk once they give us the money. We can't talk against our oppressors. But guess what? Yolanda will do it. Yolanda will do it. I will do what nobody else is willing to do. I will say what nobody else is willing to say.
That's the danger about getting a nonprofit, because there's a certain small group of non-black people who control the nonprofit purse string. And if you crack slick on them, they will whiteball you to all of the other organizations.
Well, they can whiteball me all they want because, like I said, I'm tired. I'm tired of them doing us the way that they're doing us, and then
They
expecting
put
us
you
to
on a
change.
white list.
Well, I don't care what list I'm on. I mean, my father was labeled a BIE, so I mean, well. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm used to it. We've been fighting for our whole life. So my father was
Tell
a
me
black.
about homeschooling. Is homeschooling a best option?
Homeschooling right now would be the only option besides virtual learning. And I even called them on Monday, and they're so overwhelmed right now with the applications that's going through homeschool that they can't even get the people right now, because I'm still waiting for a call back. And the woman said, I'm ready to quit. For the first 2 days, I'm ready to go because I'm overwhelmed with this. Instead of them opening back up virtual learning for the parents who want it for their children, they're going to make us suffer. They're going to make these people suffer. Either put your children in school or go to jail. This should not be linked to a criminal act because I want to keep my child safe.
I
Because
wish they would send somebody to jail. Because
we
if that's the case, then we're going to send the entire Baltimore City Public School, these commissioners, and Ronnie says they have no infrastructure experience. We need to have them locked. I'd like to see in my lifetime people come out of Baltimore City Public School headquarters in handcuffs. Let me ask you this. What about this forensic audit? Where's the money?
You know what? We didn't ask for a forensic audit and they won't give it to us. The only, Baltimore City cannot give it to us because it does not sit under them. It sits under the state. The only way we're going to get it is when we file this lawsuit, and it has to be in a lawsuit that we asked for a forensic file for at least 10, 15 years back. And that's
You
what
gonna
we
find you got people over there getting 6 figures and they don't do anything. I'll be damned if you're gonna make 6 figures on my school system where the GPA is 1.07. I'll be damned. And I'll be damned if your school CEO, because I done heard this crap. So if you pay this lady $350 a year, hey, maybe you want to start the job at $150 and give some perks and bonuses for excellent performance. But just to give somebody $350, just like the police commissioner, how you give somebody an incredible deal that benefits them but screws the rest of us? I don't care about nobody that much. You're just a person.
We always gotta it's like a child
The
man.
mayor said that violent crime is down. I heard him say that. What city is he living in?
Clearly not Baltimore. I mean,
he said gun arrests are up. How?
Well, they did.
I'm watching people with guns smoke weed in front of the police.
Yeah, because they're not engaged. But see, that's another problem that we have. We're like children. It's like our city government is like children. We have to, give our food away. Or
what is the mayor saying when he comes on television? I see him really making points, at least to himself, but I don't understand a damn word. Because when I look in these streets, I'm seeing the police have no power.
Well, they're see, how much fighting do you expect them to do? You have
at this point, none.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, we're just
it goes back to the consent decree, something that's boneheaded that ain't gonna work. So you in an aggressive city where Martin O'Malley had zero tolerance. I'm not advocating for zero tolerance because that was all the way to the right. But what we have now is all the way to the left. You need something in the middle.
Well, see, the thing
Jump out kept people honest. The plainclothesmen, the knockers, it kept people honest. It ain't gonna stop everything, but it's gonna make a cat think twice. Do I need to carry this gun to the corner? Because right now, children and females are getting shot. That's how low it is. They're shooting people in broad daylight.
Yeah, one of those was my niece that got shot up in Emerson Village, and she died, and we buried her last week.
The 15-year-old young lady.
That was my niece, yes, we failed. Period. If I can say that I failed as a person who ran for mayor, I can say that I failed as an aunt. I can say that I failed as a parent. I can say that I failed my community. Then once we realize that we have failed, then that's when we start to rebuild and start to know how to fix things. Um, we know what the problem is. We know what the problem is. We know what the solution is. But I'm asking, where is the resolution? We need the resolution to all these problems and solutions that we have, and there is none. We know how to fix crime, fix the educational system, because then it teaches them how to do what? Be stewards in their community. When we have our correct curriculum and we know who we are, then we know what to fight for, we know what to stand for, and we know that it would be a God-given sin to kill our own.
Anybody that does, this is my suggestion. I think we can fix Baltimore City public schools tonight. I would put Dr. Andre Bunley in as school CEO, and I would hire Brother Andrew Knox Muhammad and the Fruit of Islam to help provide security in all of the schools. And we'd be done. We'd be done by 11 p.m. These children would have a better understanding, because right now you got students with more damn rights than the teachers. In my day, teachers, hey, they spank students. If your mother ain't spanking, and there was always this one mother, don't you touch my child, and her child was the problem. Her child was the problem.
That's because they
always knew. You know what I remember? The teachers knew the parents. The teachers knew the parents, because they only see the parents like once or twice a year. But the teachers know the parents. That's when the teachers were in tune. They know the parents, and they know the parents who don't come. They know the parents of the special ed people. They know.
Well, see, the thing is that we have too many sensitive people that wants to run everything. Oh no, don't do this. Oh no, don't do that. Oh,
the Dr. Spock people, timeout. Timeout don't work. That's why the penitentiary is full. See, we let people who can't raise their own children try to tell us how to raise ours. Amen.
Well, actually, no, it's too much of the government trying to raise our children, and they took the power away from the
parents. No, it was some smart people who got involved, like the lady who got prayer taken out of school. They should go dig her ass up and bury her again. How do you take prayer out the schools? And if your child's an atheist, then send them over there, send them in the atheist class. But most of us believe in God.
Yeah, but
it's time for the Christians and the believers, the Muslims. It's time for the people of God to stand up, because too many other people got too many damn rights and they're infringing on mine. Now they want a third bathroom. Penises go over there, vaginas go over there. End the story. And if you're confused, stay the hell home. We making all these. Listen, is this a Christian nation? Is this a God-fearing nation? Because I'm tired of people trashing my grandma's Bible. Make your damn mind up. You either love God or you don't. And leave these kids alone. How you gonna tell an 8-year-old they don't know their damn gender? 8 years old.
Well, see, that's the problem that we have. We got too many of these people. These other people feels a certain kind of way. Like,
feel all you want. They take your child out the school system.
Yeah, but you as you notice that animals have more rights than black people. And I noticed that when I call,
why they keep on pushing this gay thing on black men? I'm sick of it. Why can't a man just be a damn man?
Well, that's correct.
Stop pushing your thing on me. I don't tell you what I like. Stop telling me what you like.
Well, see, if it's okay for me to be straight, so I mean, you can't sit up there and tell me that I'm being insensitive to gay people when you're being insensitive.
I think they're being insensitive to straight people.
They are. I mean, they are. I mean, I
gotta watch what I say out my mouth. The hell with you.
I'm not watching nothing, because that's what it's my amendment to say that I have freedom of speech.
You're damn right.
Gonna have to you just gonna have to ostracize me, because I'm gonna say what I want to say.
No, they already ostracized. They ostracized. I'm not ostracized.
Agenda on me that I do not agree with, and that's that right there, and that's the educational system, and that's every white European out here that's sitting up there pushing white agenda, and you try to make it seem like a black agenda is a dirty word. I'm sorry, I'm not for it. I was the only candidate that had a black agenda. I include all people, but we come first, because we always been last.
Damn, and it's a majority black city. Like these damn bike lanes. I ain't seen one son of them a gun or in a bike lane. All across North Avenue, 28th Street. I mean, clearly these are people who don't have babies. Because ain't nobody putting their baby on a bike going across North Avenue.
No, sir.
I'll wait.
Yeah, I'll wait with you because no, I'm not riding. And then what is the point when you can't ride in the wintertime?
What old person is going? And who want to ride a bike when people driving around like this? They driving like this with earphones on, so they not even gonna hear you when they run you over.
Well, see, Baltimore have a thing where they study best practices because if you knew best practices, you would never have brought that mess here. And two, for how dare you? It's North Avenue now is so congested, it's unreal because of these stupid
From
bikes.
North and Mount Royal to North and Park, they got congestion all the way back because there's an arrow in the right lane. Why?
Right. And what about
logic?
What about the danger that's coming off of 28th Street when you come around that turn and all those things are sitting wide in the street? You know how many accidents I see there? How is this not a safety hazard? Donnie, I'm so sick and tired of being in the shack and they just throwing us the scraps to fight over. They're throwing us in the chitlins to fight over. I'm tired of that. Like I said, on my whole campaign.
We're here to fight. As long as we black, we're gonna have to fight. And I'm right there with you. I remember when you was fighting in North and Linden, Madison Park. I remember they called me near the end of your fight, Rodell Bailey and them. What they did to those people at Madison Park, they put them people out for the sake of Micah.
Well, that's why I made them pay for it. You want us gone? Well, actually, we fought against the owner. We fought against the owner. I took a whole petition around, and it's not about me at the end of the day. The majority rules. That's just how I go, even down to my organization. I don't, even though I'm the head. We all are leaders because in order to be an effective leader, you have to be an effective follower. So, I took a petition around and I asked them to sign whether they want to go and they want to stay. Majority ruled. The majority wanted to go, so we went against Baltimore City, and we went against housing, and we went against the owner, and we had our own agenda. You pay for us to leave. You provide Section 8 vouchers for everybody, and you pay first month and security deposit. I didn't play with them. I did not play with them, and I'm not playing with them with this educational system. Either she goes or you pay. Period. We have to stop. We have to stop with all this engrossment of, oh, well, give another chance. Why we keep giving people chances? What about the people that's in jail? Who gave them another chance? What about the ones who's coming home that need another chance? Why are we giving everybody else another chance? Except for the ones who deserve another chance. That's why they're called returning citizens. And I don't see anything that's put in place for them to get another chance.
Oh, if you white, you can. If you Ed Norris, you can even get a radio show. And why do they keep bringing Ed Norris on Fox? Like somebody want to hear. He's a convicted felon. Nobody wants to hear. Y'all won't let us hear D'Souza. We don't want to hear Ed Norris.
That's facts. That's facts. Matter of fact, I'm going to call him and ask them that. We need another voice that looks like us.
And they keep bringing the guy Jason on from the police department. You don't know no black people at the police department, Fox?
No, they won't.
Jackson need to stop with that escape slave report every evening. Donnie Glover, escape the plantation. Be on the lookout. So you ain't got no white people wanted, FBI most wanted. Everybody on the FBI most wanted is black, right? Kai Jackson and Mary Bubala. She need to go back. They both Channel 13 rejects. Why they not Channel 13 no more? Huh?
Well, we know it wasn't because they had a black agenda. We know that much.
Kai Jackson was so happy report about we're going to get this convicted. This guy's dangerous. We got to get him off the streets. That's why Baltimore's so bad.
How are we the dangerous one when they set up there and had a whole when they broke into a whole
J6 Congress,
Washington, Where they
insurrection. Yeah,
where they
we
took the whole
dangerous.
building. Yeah, where they took
They
over
said
the whole.
they say the number one threat in America is the KKK and similar organizations. The number one threat.
Yeah, but how are we the angry ones when they get to do what they want? If that had been a group of black people that broke into the Capitol, then that situation would have went totally to the left.
You see that black cop shot that white lady. They try to give him death threats and stuff. She shouldn't have been trying to break in there. He bust a cap in her. She shouldn't have went in there. These are the same people that don't want anybody tell them to wear a mask. Hey, look, we ain't gone over. Any final thoughts, Yolanda Pulley? Thank you for getting us revved up. Because, you know, the fight don't stop. And Harriet Tubman would be proud of you, sister. You keep fighting. Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass would be proud of you. And all of these knee-jerk Negroes who ain't standing up for our people, they'll have their day. They'll never be remembered in history. They'll never be remembered for anything good. They will never make the Harriet Tubman honor roll, ever.
Thank you. I appreciate you, but we need people to join our fight in the calling for the resignation of Santalese. It's my organization, People Empowered by the Struggle, PEBTS. If you want to get in touch with us, we're 443-355-8014. We're a one-stop shop for all struggles.
What's that number again?
443-355-8014. And after this, we're going after housing. We will not stop until we fix our city. In and out the seat, my job never stops. And my fight will always continue.
Any thoughts on the white addicts in my alley that continually shoot dope? And when I, tell police and law enforcement about it, they say there's nothing they could do. But if I was to shoot dope over in Bolton Hill, I would get locked up faster than a Baltimore speed camera. Where these white addicts come from in my alley?
Well, that's why they want to shoot up galleries and give them all these methadone clinics and all this kind of stuff, because it wasn't a problem until the white people started getting high.
And they nasty and entitled. They bust up in the back to school giveaway line. The little white lady was cracking slick on me. It was only because I had some preachers around me that I didn't revert.
Well,
she cracked slick. She up in there eating the kids' hot dogs and gonna crack slick because I tell her she need to step off. Looking dirty. Oh my God, I've never seen somebody so.
But I'm gonna leave you with a thought. Isn't it mighty funny how they come in and gentrify black communities, but they have not touched Pigtown? That's amazing to me.
Say that again.
I said that they come in and want to gentrify communities like Harlem Park and everywhere else, and Drew Hill Park Heights and everywhere else, but they have not went down Pigtown.
They down to Pigtown.
All I see is vacants. I was just down there. All I seen is vacants, and it looked like The Walking Dead to me down there. I mean, and I didn't see not one big developer put in one big developing, big, huge, they trying to take over big community. I mean, take over the communities and all this kind of stuff. They go for little.
Yolanda Pulley, it was a Sunday morning. I watched these 4 cops pull up this white addict who just copped. They put him in handcuffs. They took his drugs. Then they took the handcuffs off him because he snitched, and they let him go. I seen it with my own eyes, right outside my house. That's the double standard.
Absolutely.
White people have opioid addictions. Black people are dope fiends and junkies.
And don't call Center Rehab of Rehab of America, because they want $30,000 for 30 days and they don't take medical assistance.
You know, Afghanistan got a lot of heroin too. A lot of people think it's about refugees and all of that. They got dope. They got a lot of dope.
Well, that's why I just came here. Get ready for your new neighbors, because I got that phone call the other day. They trying to house them in Baltimore City. I can't do nothing to help you. I have to take care of my own before I try to take care of somebody else's. I can't hear you.
I'm afraid of people that like blowing up people.
I will not.
My name is Donnie Glover. And this has been another edition of the Black USA Morning Show. Do join us tonight. We'll be live from Oakland with Doug Blackshear with the Black Business Roundtable. Big ups to Michael Randolph down in Florida. I think he missed a sad time because he don't miss a show up here. But big ups to you too, Miss Pulley. Keep hope alive. What does PEBTS stand for?
People empowered by the struggle.
Good stuff. Stay powerful, Black Queen.
Thank you.